Shahnameh Stories. The Seven Labours of Rostam. Haft-Khane Rostam. A journey far and foul. So Rostam set off for Mazandaran, the land of the Deevs, where the King Kay Kavus lay blinded and imprisoned by the White Deev. He took the shorter, more dangerous route, where, as his father Zal had predicted, he came upon many strange and terrible things. The first trial was an encounter with a lion that actually involved Rostam's horse Raksh rather than the hero himself. It took place when, after a long, arduous journey, Rostam stopped to eat and rest in a wooded area. During the night, a lion appeared, and noticing the horse standing in front of the sleeping hero, mused that the best way of getting the rider into his clutches would be to take the horse down first. But Raksh proved a fiery foe, and rearing up, kicked the lion in the head and trampled him to death. The commotion awakened Rostam, who, upon seeing the dead lion, scolded his horse for risking his life by fighting the lion by himself, which the artist in this painting has intensified by having him tear off the lion's head, while Rostam and his leopard head helmet doze. In this remarkable illustration, that is the link and crucial step into the visionary world of early Safavid painting, we witness the exuberant energy and taste of his patron Shah Ismail I, enthrallingly interpreted by the kindred spirit of the supreme artist Sultan Muhammad. Its vitality foreshadows the thrilling paintings of the Shahnameh of Shah Tahmasp that we have and will continue to look at. It was at this crossroads of the Timurid and Safavid patronage of the arts that the Turkoman style of painting, distinguished by the vivacity and expressive range of Sultan Muhammad, fused with the cerebral and refined Timurid school of the legendary artist Behzad. This phenomenon, known as the Safavid synthesis, reached the pinnacle of creativity and perfection of the art of miniature painting in the royal manuscripts during the reign of Shah Tahmasp. In this enchanting setting, ebullient with the rustle of dancing trees, draconic clouds and geysers of whispering rock spirits, nature explodes with the rich freshness of tropical forest greens, vibrant reds, and oozing pink, blue, and green rocks. We are drawn trance-like into this surreal space unconcerned with perspective, where we stroll through the lush vegetation that gushes and bursts with the euphoric chatter and laughter of its flora and fauna. Rising in intensity, on the left, the mops of weeping willow lead the eye up the tail of the snake, slithering between the alarmed branches poking out of the tree to devour a bird in one gloating gulp. Above to the right, a large blue tiger spirit gapes with satisfaction, as other, both human and animal spirits, frown, flinch, turn away, or observe in dismay. As if floating on a hammock, the sleeping Rostam stretches comfortably, oblivious to the discomfort of his inhabited rock footrest and the agitated trees that thrash, flap, and wave in an effort to wake him, as Raksh and the lion take a hearty bite out of each other's flesh. An intriguing element of this story, and indeed of Ferdowsi's narrative, is the communication that extends beyond humans. Here, not only does Rostam converse with Raksh as he does with the dragon in the third trial, but Ferdowsi allows us into the lion's reasoning as he contemplates the best course of action in devouring Rostam, and most interestingly later into the parallel internal dialogue with the white Div. The second trial takes place in a dry desert where, staggering from heat and exhaustion, the parched Rostam turned to God for help and was saved when a ram appeared and led him to a spring of water. Although rarely illustrated, it is nonetheless a poignant story that shows his devotion and belief in God. Furthermore, Ferdowsi reveals Rostam's tender side by describing the care with which he tended to Rakhsh by the spring. Here, the artist's sensitivity to the narrative has captured the closeness of the hero to his faithful steed as he gently bathes and grooms him by the water's edge. Within the realm of the supernatural, dragons feature extensively and dramatically in the Shahnameh, and as we shall see, several characters have their individual confrontations with them. Rostam's third trial is one such electrifying encounter, with the addition that this is a magical dragon. After his grueling journey in the desert, having bathed and eaten, Rostam once again fell asleep. This time, a dreadful dragon materialized in the darkness. The terrified Rakhsh ran twice and woke his sleeping master, but each time the dragon vanished, and Rostam, seeing nothing dangerous, became increasingly angry. But at the dragon's third appearance and the sight of his flaming breath, despite his fear of both the beast and his master's wrath, the loyal steed started stamping and snorting and making a ruckus. The furious Rostam leapt up to punish his horse, but this time God shone a light, preventing the dragon from cloaking itself. At this point, Ferdowsi's narrative falls into a dialogue between the hero and the dragon. Like the lion, whom we saw consider his options and strategize his attack on Rostam, the dragon also thinks and, moreover, communicates like a human. In addition to his magical ability to vanish, he has the power of speech and engages Rostam in a conversation much like warriors in single combat. As on the battlefield, each demands to know the identity of his opponent so that the vanquished may not die nameless. The dragon does not oblige, but instead boasts of his prowess. Rostam, as is his custom throughout the Shahnameh, proudly proclaims his name and his lineage. The civilized formalities and bragging concluded, the dragon pounces. Seeing his master trapped under the monster, Rakhsh rushed in, dug his teeth into the dragon, and tore at his flesh, while Rostam cut off his head with his sword. The dragon sank into the ground and vanished beneath a flowing river of blood and poison, as once again Rostam prayed and gave thanks to God. In this glorious lyrical painting from the Shahnameh of Shah Tahmasp, the artist has captured the divine light that infuses the lilac landscape as it flickers over the rocks, plants, trees, clouds, and flowers, making them glow like multicolored jewels. With stunning choreography, the intertwined dragon leaps over Rakhsh, propelled by the golden wings of its legs, powered by the launch pad of iridescent rocks. Its force is felt in the firm grip of its claws as the hind limbs dig into Rakhsh's neck and thigh, and the front uproots the flailing tree that reels from its violent grasp. Illuminated into a sapphire blue, the night glimmers with wonder as magical as the magnificent golden beast itself. In the fourth trial, After a long day's ride over barren and rugged terrain, Rostam happened upon a splendid feast that had been laid out by sorcerers who had vanished at his approach. Pleasantly surprised, he dismounted, and finding a lute nearby, he began to sing about the challenges and dangers of his life. Hearing the music, one of the witches turned herself into a beautiful maiden and came to sit beside the delighted Rostam, who offered her a cup of wine as he thanked God for his good fortune. But no sooner had he uttered the name of God than the maiden recoiled in horror and her face darkened. Rostam quickly caught her in his lasso and commanded her to reveal her true self, at which point a hideous hag materialized in his snare. Here, the artist has illustrated the moment of transformation, when the beguiling beauty turns back into her sorceress self as Rostam drives in his sword, cleaving her in two. In the foreground, the disturbed vessels of wine and delicacies lie in disarray, as the inquisitive flowers eavesdrop and gossip in wide-eyed witness to the inauspicious engagement. However, none captures the satire of this scene like the aghast Raksh, who brays and gapes in horror, while his dapper purple and leopard skin saddle that mirror Rostam's poke fun at the dandy Romeo, whose amorous aspirations have gone awry. After this disheartening turn of events, Rostam's fifth trial is the capture of the local warlord Ullard, who, as we discussed in the previous video, will guide us into the demon land of Mazandaran, where Rostam confronts the Div Arjang. Almost always depicted tied to a tree as an observer for Rostam's sixth and seventh trials, this image is noteworthy as it was taken before the dismantling of the manuscript, when the Shahnameh of Shah Tahmasp was intact. The few lines of text on the sheet to the left were the now almost completely dispersed and perhaps lost inserted synopses of the stories that were written by the Ottoman court librarian in 1800 and attached over each illustration.